How we doing, everybody? Welcome back to the Shaun Attwood channel. I'm Ron Swanson, and I'm really excited. Tonight we have got Colin from the Paranormal Files. Mind blowing, right? I was just saying, you're a legitimate OG now of YouTube. I mean, 10 years, and I don't think it'd be hard to come across anyone that's into paranormal who hasn't at least come across your content at some point on their journey on YouTube. Thanks so much for giving up your time, mate. Thanks so much for being here. I'm excited to delve into all this, but before we do that, just introduce yourself to the one person out there who doesn't know who you are, and let us know, what you do.
This is a very kind introduction, man. And yeah, my name is Colin Browen. I have been investigating the paranormal on YouTube for over 10 years. This was the 10-year anniversary of the channel in March of this year. I also have my show, The Conspiracy Files, which is an extension of the Paranormal Files, where I can dive into the topics that I'm really passionate about, like child trafficking and all these cover-ups. There's a lot you could dive into there, but my wife and I also co-host a true crime podcast called Murder in America, which we started 5 years ago, almost, which is crazy. And it's grown into something so much bigger and so much greater than I could have thought possible back when we started the show. So I've been blessed for sure to be able to do this for so long. And it comes from a place of passion and a desire to really understand these things. You know, with YouTube paranormal, a lot of people say that it's all clickbait or it's fake. But I feel like a lot of my videos have dived into not only just like hauntings, but we've also looked at various esoteric topics and visited all these different types of locations and told all these different stories. So it's been a really crazy journey, and my thoughts have evolved over the years. Definitely. Like, talk about that.
It's quite interesting because your content kind of evolved. You were doing your paranormal investigations, and then you transitioned into sort of documentary, sort of going into the areas and history and talking to people. And there wasn't a lot of that when you started doing that on YouTube.
Yeah, no, there was like none. That's one of the things about my channel, which I think kind of set it apart back then and still really does, is I value history above everything. So, I have a lot of friends in the paranormal, and typically paranormal videos are like a concise hour. You get 10 minutes of history and 50 minutes of ghost hunting, but with my stuff, you get like an hour to an hour and a half of history and like 2.5 hours of ghost hunting.
Well, it's interesting because there was a pattern that did emerge. You would see other channels, say for example Sam and Colby, they would go and film for a week, and the first 2 episodes would be exactly what you've just said. It would be like a bit of history and all the rest of it, and you've seen almost the benefit of the extending of the content sort of sweep across the paranormal channels. I spotted that, just to point that out. Listen, am I right in saying that you were a budding filmmaker at 15 years old and pumped out a couple of movies?
Yeah, man.
You're starting. Was that the first time you picked up a camera and really went for it?
Yeah, I've been my whole life I've wanted to be a filmmaker. When I was younger, I kind of forced my parents to be in horror films that I was directing with our little handy cam, and my parents played everything from mad scientists to zombie hunters.
That's awesome.
I got to credit them for helping me kind of become who I am. But yeah, that's a goal that I have in the next, hopefully 5 years, is to actually produce and direct a scripted horror film. Like, zombies are my favorite genre. I'm like a horror aficionado. Like, I've seen
where do you land with the zombies, right? Are you rage zombies or are you dead zombies walking slowly? Where do you fall?
I'm rage all the way.
Okay, all right, nice.
And
do you see those zombies as undead living people or people with a virus that act a lot like zombies?
I'm the virus mind, like I think 28 days, that's one of my favorite. I have a 28 days later tattoo. So this year was amazing when we got to see 28 years.
See, it got a lot of criticism, right? It got a lot of criticism from people. I got it. Like, I totally got the movie. I got the far-fetchedness. I got all of it. I like when you feel like you're watching a graphic novel in a film. Do you see? And that's clearly what they were going for, and they nailed it. And I was all right with it. I was all right with it. It took me a couple of watches before I really appreciated it, because I was a bit angry after the first time I watched it, but the second and third time I was like, this is brilliant.
Well, they had so many, especially with that film, so many complex themes and kind of like emotions that they were trying to evoke, versus, 28 Days is a complicated film in itself, but it's so like just visceral and kind of angry and bleak.
100%.
28 Weeks, I still love 28 Weeks, but it's a much, I don't know what the word would be, dumber, stupider film.
I think we were prepared for it. I think you'll never forget that first scene when they shut down the whole of London for I think 7 minutes. They got 7 minutes to film that scene.
Oh yeah.
And that that was the first time we'd seen a fast moving zombie. You know what I'm saying? It was a genre definer. And I think that's why it's always going to be the one,
So I have a whole script written centered around a location that is actually in my family. It's my grandmother's farmhouse in North Dakota, which is the middle of nowhere. And she passed away last year. So now it's just empty. And it's been my goal to film this zombie film out there. So hopefully after I get through, I have a documentary that I'm in post-production on right now, which has been fucking crazy, man, to film. And it's just, we could talk about that too. And then I also have a 8-part documentary series, which we've been filming in tandem with the documentary, both of which are about, I know it can be finicky on YouTube, but predator rings.
Got you. Nailed it. That'll do. Yeah. That'll do.
I know the guidelines can be, especially for my channel. Oh my God, it's
crazy,
a nightmare, man.
It's crazy. So look, I think it's fair to say that even just with your YouTube career, you've got a lot of years under your belt. You'll have a lot of investigations, a lot of interviews, a lot of history, a lot of knowledge. Okay. So before we get into the meat of Satanism and the sort of the darker side, right? Because I always say, Colin, right, there's good and bad that create the balance of the world, but there's no place for evil, right?
Yeah.
And some people misunderstand the greatness of evil and what it truly means, because the wolf has to eat the stag, and that is the good and the bad, right? This bad for the stag, it's good for the wolf. No place for evil. And I imagine you have felt a lot of things that are hard to explain in some places, and we're going to delve into that in just a moment or two. But before we do that, make sure you guys are liking, sharing, make sure you're subscribing, all that good stuff. And let's dive into it, Colin. Rather than take everyone on a tour of your career, everything like that, let's go in hot. Let's go in with like your top 3 moments where it wasn't something you seen, right? It was something you felt. It was, people sometimes feel sickness. Some people feel odd, or they get a warning. Have you ever had that sixth sense and almost recoiled from a location?
Many times, man. I talk about it all the time on my channel. It's like, you can capture the tapping noises. You can capture if someone gets scratched. You can see a physical manifestation or a welt that forms. You can hear a voice and get that on audio, but what you can never get across to people is the feeling. Now, I consider myself to be intuitive in a way, empath, and I'm more connected to the feelings of locations. Like my wife, Courtney, actually has a crazy sense of intuition where she has actually predicted the future many times. And it's scary. Like she'll say, for example, she's writing a book right now, and she actually, in her book, she asked me, like, what should I name this character? And she came up with just the most random name possible. It was like David Jenkins or some random shit,
Right.
like nobody that we know. And then later that day, somebody friended her on Facebook with no connections to any of us with that guy's name. That day, and he had no mutual friends. We don't know who the hell he is. It's some random account.
The laptop's going in the bin at that point, Colin. Right, the whole laptop is just going in the bin.
Freaky, man.
Right,
but yeah, I would define it. I've had really, really powerful experiences that were almost positive in a way,
Mhm.
And I've had these really, really negative experiences as well. For example, on the positive side of things, we just did a series in Italy, and for um our Christmas holiday special, I did a whole video on like the extremely dark relics that can be found in the Catholic churches in Italy, like the severed heads and the blood of Christ and all those sorts of things. But we were actually filming a different video about the Knights Templar and kind of their esoteric connections and beliefs, and diving into the mythos of that whole subject. And we went to this church in the middle of nowhere in Italy that is supposed to be a location where the Templar potentially could have hidden some of their lost treasure, if you believe in that. And we show up to this place, and there's a ton of cars. There's a ton of vehicles. There's police that have shut down the road. I'm like, what the hell's going on? And apparently they were doing this festival thing. So Connor, my brother-in-law, we couldn't find parking anywhere. And I told him, if you just drop me off and just circle a little bit, I'll just walk up there, see what's happening, and maybe we can park and come in and film. And I ended up being there. It's the Basilica. I can't remember the exact name, but we ended up being there on the day that they were opening what's called the Holy Door. And I'm not exactly too well read, or I wasn't at that point. I am more so now on Catholic traditions, but apparently they open this Holy Door once a year, in some places once every 25 years, with the Jubilee festivities. And pilgrims are allowed to walk through this door. It's like the one time a year you can do this, and you become, I can't remember the exact meaning of it, but like you're absolved of sins, and it's like a whole thing where you have to pray and say these certain incantations beforehand. But I ended up being there on that day for that festival. And it was just a weird series of circumstances. I tried to get in. This person denied me, said I didn't have the pilgrim pass. So I walked around to another way, and I filled this thing out on my phone. They wouldn't let me in. And then I kind of snuck in through this open entrance, and I ended up there just surrounded by Italian people, nobody speaking English. I'm like sticking out like a sore thumb amongst all these people that are clearly like locals. And then I watched them open the Holy Door. They have this huge procession that goes through, and all the local people from the Archdiocese are on stage, and they're live streaming this on the Vatican's social media and like their web, whatever it's called, web player, like their Netflix sort of streaming service. And I end up afterwards, I went up to a police officer and I said, can anybody walk through the Holy Door? And they're like, yeah, I mean, you have a pilgrim pass, right? And I'm like, yeah. So I ended up just going on the red carpet by myself and walking through this Holy Door. And I'm not a religious person, but the power that I felt in that moment of being connected to something that was more divine. They had this angelic choir, a full choir singing this angelic song. I've tried so hard to find what this song is afterwards because I was recording this. And it really struck me. It actually moved me to tears because I could feel whether or not that was what people would call God or a higher power, or it was just the collective energy of all these people coming together to celebrate this ancient tradition of opening this door and passing through it. I really felt tapped into it, and it actually inspired me to dive into Catholicism, just reading about saints and all, kind of studying some of those ancient traditions. So that was something extremely powerful for me, and it's hard to even describe it. It's going to be in my Christmas holiday video, but feeling that connection was crazy, man. Then on the flip side of the coin, there are locations out there that are truly evil, that have been stained by like a very intense darkness, whether that's through repeated rituals invoking something that is darker, or obviously murder, intensely negative history that's left a stain on the environment. And just recently, actually, one of those places that we went to, I'm trying to think of the name. It was Hellfire Caves in England. I just filmed this video a few weeks ago. Do you know, I'm assuming, the story of Hellfire Caves and like the Hellfire Club?
I know I know all of it. I couldn't go deep into it or anything like that. But the Hellfire Club and the Hellfire Caves, yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it's like a network of tunnels that were carved out, and it was an old secret society, kind of, some people have compared it to almost an Illuminati, where it was all of these very wealthy individuals from local communities. Benjamin Franklin was even a member, reportedly, of the Hellfire Club, and he would visit these caves, and they would have these just massive debaucherous sex parties in these tunnels underneath the town. There's all these effigies, faces carved in the walls of like different demons, and there's like the devil himself is carved, and it's super, super creepy.
What was it called again?
It's called Hellfire Caves in I think West Wycombe, England.
I'm terrible with names, but see, when I see things, yeah, see, I recognize the weird little archways and things like that, but I would never have known the name, to be honest. But yeah, there's the faces. I'll bring some up for everybody. Hang on.
Yeah, it is creepy as hell down there, man. We were doing B-roll. Oh yeah, that like those are some of the. There's so many of those faces, and they're just watching you through these caves and these tunnels. You go all the way down to the bottom to the actual inner sanctuary area.
I feel like I've seen a video where somebody was saying that if there's drips coming down, it's coming from a cemetery above. Is that
yeah, there is. There's
right?
It's very interesting geographically that they were able to do this back then, but the actual chapel where the inner circle of the Hellfire Club did these, the word satanic is thrown around a bunch because a lot of people just conflate any ritual with a satanic ritual, but here they were actually doing like satanic stuff.
Yeah, it's all come back to me now. I know it's all come back to me, the story of this now.
Yeah, so that room actually right there, that's where we ended our investigation. That's like the old banquet hall, and they would have sex parties, and they'd actually take people into those little holes, and they had, I believe, a curtain that they'd draw across and just have sex with them, and everybody would be just getting into this, whole ritualistic vibe. But it was really dark energy, and then the moment that we wrapped filming, after we had been talking to whoever or whatever we were speaking with, as we were walking back up that little tunnel right there, I think that's the one that goes up, I started to feel really, really nauseous. And this has happened to me before in videos. And I've been told by different mediums over the years, even before I had published a video of this happening to me, I'd been told this by mediums, that I personally store negative energy in my stomach area. And so as we were leaving the caves, I started to get extremely nauseous, and I felt like almost the walls were coming in, and I got really dizzy. And the moment that we got up to the top and exited the caves, I started profusely vomiting, and I threw up for like 5 minutes straight. It was the most violent upheaval that I've had. And I wasn't getting sick. I didn't have anything weird to eat that day. I was the only one in our group that felt this way, but it was so visceral and raw. It felt really wrong to me. And then I filmed this and I talked about it for our video because I ended up riding in the back seat of the car. I was in the passenger before with our driver. And like 5-10 minutes after we left the caves area, I was completely back to normal. Hungry. I didn't feel sick, dizzy, anything. It was like something had just tried to enter me when we were leaving the caves.
Colin, I was just about to say, and a lot of people will say, oh, it's overwhelming negative energy. It's this, it's that. If your body is wanting you to vomit, okay, the reason that happens in a natural reason is because something's in you that shouldn't be there. Okay. Yeah. So if your body goes into, if your body kickstarts anything where any of the exits from your body feel like they're about to go, you move away from the area you're in. It's a really good security system our body has. So for me, I personally believe these moments are when people have something try to enter them. There's 100%. It must be terrifying. Because
it's happened a few times, man. Like it's a thing in my videos now too, where I've only ever been brought to the point of throwing up twice. This was one of them. The other time was when we were at an abandoned church in the middle of this huge forest area in Maryland, which is where they shot the Blair Witch Project, or part of the film. And we had done this thing and opened this box there, and it got really bad, and I had to leave right away.
Can you tell us a little bit about? Can you just go into the box and things like that? Just sort of set the stage for some people, because a lot of people open a lot of boxes on YouTube, Colin, and I think it would be good for us to know what to steer away from. Any words you don't want people to know that they can go and Google or find stuff, feel free to change them. But I'd be very interested to hear a little bit more detail about that.
Well, this is what's interesting. So the first video I did that really blew up for me on my channel, it's no longer on my channel, because of just some people that were in it that I don't associate with any longer. So
we're going to talk about that after, because I've got some people I don't associate. I swear to God, one guy had me promote a video that turned out to be a paranormal fake video of his, and I phoned him, right? And I was like, "You're going to have to come clean about this. You're not going to have me stand up for you." And him and his missus started a live stream of them driving out of their town because they thought I was sending people from the dark web after them. Brilliant. So, just sometimes a Scottish accent really puts the fear of God into people. So we'll chat about that later. So anyway, some unscrupulous creators had to be wiped.
And it was basically me debunking Dybbuk boxes, because that was a trend on YouTube years ago, back in 2018, 2019.
Totally. I remember it well.
Yeah.
If you're going to look for a scary, religious orientated mystical box, eBay's the place. You know, eBay's the place.
No, that's what was getting me, is people were opening these things in their videos, and it would be like a guy opens a box, and then behind him his door opens by itself, and he's like, "Oh my God, the Dybbuk's here." And I just so happened, actually, because I dropped out of college, but I was gonna be a religious studies minor. So at the time I was in a Jewish folklore class, learning about like the Kabbalah and all just Jewish mysticism. And we actually had a whole discussion about Dybbuks, and my professor was actually in the trailer for the film The Possession, which is it's like a 2010, I want to say 2011 horror film about a Dybbuk box. But he's actually in the trailer because he's an expert on Dybbuks. So I ended up speaking with him and interviewing him, and he told me, the concept of a Dybbuk box in general doesn't really track, because in Jewish folklore and kind of Jewish mystic thought, a Dybbuk can only inhabit something that's alive. So I remember him telling me, like, it could jump from a tree to a blade of grass to a deer to me, but it couldn't jump from me to a box and be just in a box, because that's not what a Dybbuk is and does.
You talking about this one?
Yeah, that movie. He's in the trailer for that movie. His name's Itzik Godesman, I want to say. I can't remember his last name, but so I did a video about Dybbuk boxes, and I ordered, I think, 3 or 4 of them on eBay. I opened them, let them sit in my apartment for a few days. Nothing happened. I just said, I think that this is a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah, content though. I mean, you can see it. You can see, like, you got to listen. We've got to just say, listen, if you're one of those channels that bases their content on entertainment, you're allowed to open the big boxes with the weird door opening. It's because you're saying it's entertainment. If you're out there saying that you're a paranormal investigator and all of this is real, and you you fake anything, okay? Honestly, there needs to be a paranormal community police force that goes out and enforces the rules of this. I'm telling you, man.
Good luck with that. I mean,
some of the stuff is entertainment. It's just that it's really entertaining,
Yeah,
but don't be saying you're a don't be saying the words real, okay? Don't be doing that.
Well, there is a whole contingency of people online who are dedicated to trying to keep the paranormal community honest, which I agree with. I fully agree with, but it turns at times into like personal attacks, and then people asserting that they know things are 100% true when they're not. Or, I've had people try to say that what happened in my video was fake, and they saw somebody in the corner of the room, that I obviously hired to be there. And it turned out, when I slowed the footage down, it was like a cabinet that was standing there that somebody thought was a person. So that's when you get into the dangerous thing, because in the paranormal, what I kind of like to preach is, like, nobody really knows anything about what we're doing or what we're experiencing. I don't claim to tell people like I know what's causing this. I have my own theories, which we can get into because my theories are a bit different than a lot of other people. But anyway, with the Dybbuk box thing, so that box that we brought out to the Blair Witch Forest was a totally different thing. It was a witch box that someone had made for me. And they said that it contained just powerful items, and they had done some sort of binding spell on the box. I can't remember the exact details. This is back in 2022, but it was crazy because we were investigating this church. It's just an old abandoned church, like 45-minute hike into the woods, and you come upon this structure. It's so creepy. And we had already had some really bizarre, freakish paranormal activity. But the moment we opened this box, we couldn't actually get it open because it was sealed. So I had to take it and just slam it on the side of the church to break it open.
That went down real well. Real well.
So that opened up, and it was like almost immediate. I started to get nauseous, just like the Hellfire Club. And all of our devices started kicking out very negative words and phrases, and the EMF energy was just spiking way harder than it was before. And it really did feel like either something, I'm not even a big believer that, you know, something can be trapped in a box, but it would almost be like, to me, like there was a spirit there that didn't like the action that we had done.
Well, you can definitely bind spirits to things and then put things in boxes. Okay, it's, you see what I mean? It really is. It really is. But I mean, who's trapping something super dangerous and then putting it in a freaking flimsy box that someone can smash open? Do you know what I'm saying?
I mean.
Like that's for like international waters with a slab of concrete duct tape to it for the crabs. Okay, let the crabs deal with that. You know what I'm saying? Like, why don't put it on eBay? Like, it doesn't make any, like, what are you doing?
I know.
You know what I mean? So,
but that's wild. Triggered that event.
Do you think?
And I
got. Do you think it's anything to do with the church? And I mean, I know you said it wasn't a Dybbuk box and it was a witch box, but do you think the sheer blasphemy of the witchcraft stirred something up in a holy ground sort of thing?
You know, I've thought about that. I also had people tell me that location had been a site for rituals that had been performed because it had been abandoned so long, and it was out literally in the middle of nowhere. And we found different things in there, like burned candles and wax on the floor.
Okay.
So I had no idea what the hell it was, but I started profusely throwing up. And of course, you know, you have people saying, oh, he just made himself throw up and blah, blah, blah. But what they didn't know, which I didn't put in the video, was I'm type 1 diabetic. And so when I threw all of that stuff up that I had eaten that day, my blood sugar started to absolutely tank and crash. And I really didn't have a lot of sugar with me that I had hiked into the woods. So it became a very scary situation for me, because then we had to hike like really fast all the way back to the car, like this 45-minute hike, almost going uphill because we had been going downhill on the way there. And for me, I'm thinking, like, if I run out of sugar and I'm out here in the woods, like if you enter a diabetic coma, you can be dead within 15 minutes if you can't get help. So for me, it was actually very, very scary. I've said stuff like that when we've been filming.
I mean, you said it was your friend that made the box. You sure this wasn't like the nichest assassination attempt ever? The most niche market. Listen, I can do the assassination, but it's got to be with a witch box. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
I've thought about that, man.
You know what I'm saying?
I have friends that have claimed to do death curses in the past, which we can also talk about, which is very interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, the energy is real, man. I think that's like my big takeaway from 10 years of investigating is I don't understand what this stuff is necessarily. I think 90 to 95% of the time we are not actually talking to sentient spirits that are responding like that. I don't feel that it's like that, because I've had so many investigations where it makes sense. Like the evidence you're getting makes sense, but it just does not feel like they are consciously like you're asking a question and they're responding. It's more like you're getting these pieces of evidence and you're listening in on these conversations, or you're being delivered these statements, and then you're piecing it together.
Okay.
But what I feel like is conscious is either these energetic beings that are positive and good, or inversely, these beings which many would call demons, or
Mhm.
there's so many different names for these types of energies or
Yeah,
spirits.
I agree. And a spirit to me is something that was alive and died.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I mean? And there's residual energy, there's ghosts, there's a whole bunch of different ways of breaking that down. And
Yeah.
demon's a good collective term for nastiness, you know?
Yeah. And it's funny because when I first started my channel, I was like the biggest demon hater. And I said all the time, like, I don't believe in demons. Like, that shit's bullshit. And everyone's just clickbaiting you. And it's
They
blah,
believe
blah.
in you, Colin. Don't worry.
I know. That's
Right? They believe in
years
you.
later. My tune has changed a little bit.
Right. I bet it has, bro. I bet it has.
Especially, it's very interesting, man. Like, a part of my backstory is I grew up in a haunted house that we lived in for years, and my whole life up until about, I don't know, like 6-8 months ago, like, this is a pretty recent revelation that I've had. I
Okay.
always considered what was in my house to have been a spirit. Like, it was somebody. There are deaths that we well, not deaths, I should say, but there are missing bodies of people who used to live on the property that we found at the county courthouse. And it was a house that my parents built from scratch, and there was nothing built on the land before, so it's not like we moved into an old house. It was a completely brand new structure. But the very first day moving in, we had activity. My sister actually was hearing men talking and moving plates around in our kitchen when no one else was home. First day that we were moving in. And so my whole life I've thought that that was some sort of, paranormal, like, spirit haunting, like someone that was angry that we disturbed the land, or there's some sort of other mystery. Like, the psychics that we brought in said that they believed there was some sort of a portal in the area, and there was a well on the property that was found that was filled with arsenic. Like, there are all these just weird, extenuating circumstances. But I think nowadays, because there's like some family lore, that was kind of a really hard time for my family, just things that were happening within our family. And I now believe that whatever the hell that was attracted to my family and had actually followed us there at that time, and was something of a more inhuman, demonic
Okay. All right. I'm with
nature.
you.
Like,
Yeah,
my
because from a data point of view, that's an absolute banger. Brand new house in a field, nothing's been there before.
yeah,
Couldn't be any less capable of being haunted.
yeah,
Out
brand
with
new.
of a war that never got recorded in history between two mad tribes a
Right,
billion years ago, right? Could be
right.
that. But it's interesting because when we break down how people have experiences and things like this, it's so much farther beyond than ghosts and spirits and haunted. It really is. That's like grade school stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's such a broad spectrum. So where did you land? You landed on it, that you brought it in with you. You'd attracted it in. And was there an unsettling, unnerving, negative feeling other than the fear of, oh, I'm hearing men there that
Yeah.
aren't there? It was a negative
Dude,
presence.
it was so scary. I had friends refuse to spend the night at my house anymore. People would walk in and say, like, something feels off down here before I'm even telling them the stories. And, like, for example, this is what caused me, like, recently, because I was just doing a lot of research and thinking about all these topics more in depth. And, like, for example, one of my stories that I have a recollection of that was so powerful was I heard my mom's voice in the kitchen of our house.
Mhm.
And it was like an open floor plan. So there's the kitchen, and then there's a hallway here, and then my sister and I's bedrooms were down here. And I heard her over here, and I said something to her. I think I asked, "Hey, can you bring me this that was in the kitchen?" And I heard her say, "Yeah, I'm coming." And then I heard the footsteps go down that hallway all the way to my door. And I was expecting her to come around the door. No one came around the door, but it sounded like my mom got on all fours and started crawling around my bed, like super fast, like scratching on the carpet. And it actually scared the hell out of me to the point where I jumped out of bed and said, "Mom, what the hell are you doing?" And I turned my phone light on like this. No one was there. It just stopped the moment I looked. My sister came out of her bedroom, asked what the deal was. My parents woke up. They heard me screaming. And to me now, looking back at that, it's hard for me to even imagine that I thought that was like a friendly Casper type spirit,
Right.
because it's clearly that is like something mimicking my family.
Yeah.
Which
you get the correlation there.
Yeah.
Right?
And
Because
it was so
if
scary, man.
those spirits were looking to isolate someone, and in
Yeah.
order to isolate a child from its mother, you have to make that child fear the mother. This is some wild stuff, bro.
Yeah,
You know
and that was when I tell you that's just the tip of the iceberg. Like we had psychics come in and try to, and this is where what also contributes to my thoughts on this. Jesus, I can't get this out. We had psychics come in to try bless the home. It was a family friend who's a psychic medium. She's an absolutely incredible woman. I had worked with her for years just through my family. And she had two friends that were mediums, and they all came over. This wasn't filmed or anything. None of this was done for like YouTube. And they went room to room, and they picked up on all these different energies that were in different rooms of the house. And they did this whole thing to cleanse the home. And we had a sign that night. Something banged on our window about 2-3 in the morning. It was my birthday, so I had friends over. All my friends heard it. It sounded like someone took their fist and just slammed it on the glass window, and it reverberated through the whole house. It woke my parents up. The next day we were eating at my favorite restaurant in my hometown. The psychics were there by total chance, also eating, and they said they were getting together to talk about what they had experienced last night. Everybody had heard this noise on their windows. So we thought that was it saying it's gone. Totally not that, though, because it got worse in a way, because the activity that we then started to experience wasn't as frequent, but when it happened, it was much stronger, to the point where then I eventually moved out and I went to college, and I was in Texas, and my family's from South Dakota. And one point my dad called me at like 1-2 in the morning. He was scared out of his mind. He was walking through our house with a pistol. He got his gun out because he was home alone, and he heard somebody run from my bedroom down that hallway all the way across the kitchen up to his bedroom door, and he thought someone had broken in. So he was checking room by room, seeing if someone was in there.
Yeah, dad mode active for sure.
Totally freaked. There was also a time when I was on the phone with somebody in my bedroom, and I heard a baby crying like like that in the room. The person on the phone asked me, "Are you with the baby? Like, what was that?" And I told her, like, I have no idea, but I'm home alone right now. Later that night, my mom and sister heard a baby crying from a different part of the house. They told me first, and then I told them what I had heard. We were totally freaked out. And then, like, in some sort of a movie, my dad came home from work that night, came in through the garage, and just happened to make a little remark. He said something like, "Oh, do you guys playing with like an old baby doll or something in the garage? Because I just heard like a baby cry." And like he was like laughing about it, and we're like, no way. Like all of us heard it clear as day from different parts of the house.
That house is getting burnt down the next day. Just burn it down. It's going in the bin with a laptop. That's where it's going, bro. You just write it off. You take the financial hit, and you move and live in your car. That's it. That's the solution there, bro.
It was like, dude, it was insane.
See, well, look, just we're you know, I make jokes, right? But when we talk about the baby crying, there's nothing in the realm of this that ends well when forces start mimicking crying children, right? It's a known nasty, you know.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Looking back at all of it,
do you know? Here's an interesting one. It's probably not. We wouldn't know this. Do you know if any of the wood for the house was reclaimed? Like came from somewhere that was already built, or there was one random board from Gothic church 900 years. Nah, dude.
Because this is, you gotta imagine too. This is so South Dakota is, you know, Midwest United States.
Yeah.
Very
northern. I'm sorry. Just before you tell us that, talk about your channel just for 30 seconds. I need to go and get a glass of water, right? Just talk about your channel. Just promote yourself for 30 seconds. I will be back. Okay.
All
I will be
right.
back.
Yeah. So, to anybody who's watching, I actually did a documentary about this haunting, which was an extremely thorough look at the story itself. I interviewed my parents, I interviewed my sister. We all went through all of our stories, and I even investigated the house, because this was years after the haunting was really at its peak. And it was right before my parents sold the home. So if you want to hear like these stories from the actual mouths of the people who experience them, that is a that's a great place. It's on my channel. I can't remember the name of it, but I think I reposted the video like a year and a half ago. But yeah, South Dakota, to get into that, which is interesting. It's a relatively new state. Like, obviously, there's tons of ancient indigenous history, and the indigenous people were absolutely slaughtered and mistreated, and it's a horrible history there. But when it comes to like buildings and materials, like a lot of the stuff that's actually built in South Dakota is extremely new, because even going back to like the 1850s, 60s, 70s, you didn't even really have houses and stuff like that yet. A lot of these people who came to the Dakotas were building like sod huts. Like my family, my dad traced his relatives back to when they immigrated to America, and they actually lived in a like sod hut in the Dakota area. So that's what we're talking about here. So you don't even really have materials that could have come from like an extremely dark.
Yeah, somebody would have had to have like angered an acorn that turned into a really miserable tree. You know what I'm saying? Right.
Yeah. But that's one of my the greatest mysteries that I've ever had, really, is like
That's wild.
Decoding that as an adult. And
let me ask you something, Colin, right? If we removed that entire experience from your life, none of it, nada, right? Would we be having this conversation?
No, I don't think so.
So let me ask you this. I have a theory about when people have unexplained scary stuff, not physical stuff, scary stuff happen at a young age. I feel like it's almost like a spiritual desensitizing training course. Like, you know, when you're in the army or the police, they show you stuff to prepare you for it. Mm-hmm. I think some people are chosen to go through that so that because an adult mind interprets things different than a child.
Yeah.
Okay. A child sees the boogeyman, and it's that massive getting used to these waves of fear. And I feel like when there's no physical, when there's nothing actually bad happened and it's just terror, I feel like it's trying to prepare us ahead of time and instill a belief that we would never have had, because it happens. There's so many, because almost word for word, I've had experiences that are almost identical to yours at the same age, right?
Crazy.
It's bonkers, bro. And I mean, I remember a documentary called Nightmare came out talking about the man in the hat.
Mm-hmm.
Bro, my whole traumatic childhood memories are the man in the hat, right? For years and years and years and years. But here's the fascinating thing. I understand now the shadow people and the man in the hat. I understand fear feeders, as I call them, right? It's very much like Monsters, Inc. I just want to point out, right? Scary thing comes through the cupboard, feeds off your fear, takes it back, right? Very similar. And obviously, millions of people having the same experience doesn't make any sense. There's something behind it, blah, blah, blah. But I never got given a fear dose that I couldn't handle at the age I was given it. So when I was younger, it was very much the man in the hat getting closer to the bed. Right before he gets close to me, it's over, right? I'm traumatized, but it's over.
I got to stop you right there. That's so weird you say that, because I've said this in my videos. That is the exact thing that happened to me in that house.
How about this? You want to talk about big black dogs? Did it evolve from just the man in the hat to then him bringing a dog in? Because that was the next stage for me, bro. Was
holy shit!
It was like shadow dogs on leashes. like this. It was awful. But as I got older, I'm in my 20s now. I remember I'm in Ibiza. I've been out for a whole weekend, been awake. I'm trying to sleep on a balcony. My mates are putting bread on me and pigeons are attacking me. And I eventually pass out. And I go into like, do you remember that movie with Leonardo DiCaprio where he's in the dreams and the reality's bending and everything's shifting? That's where we're at now, bro, with this level with the shadow people.
Jesus.
And I think I'm awake. Like, I feel like I've woken up. I'm brushing my teeth. I'm straight back into it. And as it got older, that's how intense it got. But once I understood how a lucid dream ended.
Really?
Ended right there and then. As soon as I could turn around and just, sorry, no, donezo. Completely done.
I mean, I also had and I've talked about this before as well. Sleep paralysis for months on end, and I wasn't seeing anything, but I was seeing shadows darting in my room and consumed by fear. And it ended with one of the most visceral things that ever happened to me, where I was laying in my bed and I was sleeping on my side, and my wife Courtney was in bed with me. And it was morning time, and my eyes were open, and I was seeing this apartment that we were in at the time. And I could, sense that there are people there, like watching, just like standing in the doorways and darting. And I felt, I'll never forget, it gives me chills thinking about it every time. I felt something like go like, if you imagine this is like my arm on my side, I felt something go like this on my arm, and then push me down, and I sunk into the mattress. And I felt something like when something gets real close to your face, you can feel that, like the heat.
That's how every single one of my that's how every one of my night terrors, sleep paralysis, man in the hat things begin. They begin with, do you remember that scene out of Train Spotting where the guy ODs and he's sinking through the carpet?
Yes.
Remember that? Yes. That's exactly what it's like. That's exactly what it's like, bro.
Yeah, it is.
It's wild.
Yeah, that's
I'll be honest with you. The lucid dreaming stuff works, but a lot of people fall asleep. I've not fallen asleep since I was about 15. I've passed out. Do you know what I'm saying? There's certain magical flowers that can help you pass out really quickly. So I honestly think that was another thing that assisted with defeating that, was not entering a REM state for so long, because the sleep cycle wasn't a natural cycle. It was just me passing out, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Because it was terror, bro. Until I got a handle on it, it was terror like I've never felt. A couple of times waking up and getting 2 hours into your day, and then you're right back into it because, joke's on you, you never really woke up. That was when it got real. That was when I realized I'm going to be driven mad if I don't get a handle on this. And now, like, I see the shadow people all around me, but where I live, what I've got protecting this entire house, it doesn't allow anything in based off of a universal description of how multiple aspects could see oppression or trying to harm someone. Okay. So nothing can really get in that does that. But just because something feeds off fear doesn't mean it's there to harm you. This is the problem that we have with magic and making deals with these spirit realms, right? Because he's not there to harm you. He's just there to feed off your fear. Right. So I see a lot of things wandering around. I'm very much in the gray, Colin. Like, I live in the balance of the good and bad of the world. I'm bang in the middle. And I'm very at peace alone in the dark in places that would terrify people, because I will forever consider myself the most terrifying thing in the dark. So come at me, bro.
I don't want to be in the dark with you, man.
Come at me, bro. Like, I am ready. Like, I am so arrogant with my ego in the spiritual realm. Like, I am ready.
I'm the same way, where I'm not afraid of energies. It's just so much mentality and kind of the work you put in. And I ended up getting sober 2 years ago. After becoming a very hardcore alcoholic and an abuser of multiple substances. And it's really weird, man. I've connected that with my spiritual journey as well. And
I can 100%.
All these things I experienced, and even coming out of rehab, and like, that was kind of when I started really going down the esoteric occult side of things, because I've always been very interested in it. I actually took a course in college with this guy named Henrik Bogdan, who's a world-class scholar on Aleister Crowley. He's
Okay.
like he's published tons of works and papers about Crowley, and we learned all about the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn and alchemy, and all these different concepts. But in rehab, talk about a powerful experience. At the very end, they have you do this this guided meditation that's like hours long, and it's super intense, and you are in a total trance state. And they bring you to these to moments in your life that I didn't even realize were still bothering me from years ago, and I was seeing them visually in my head. And like at one point, he was actually like having me hug my younger self during a moment when I felt really like betrayed by people, and I was meditating and like crying. And at this one point, they ask you to see, like, manifest your spirit guide or spirit animal. And everybody in my rehab was seeing animals. Like, they'd come out and say, "Oh, I saw a wolf," or "I saw, I don't know, a penguin." What I saw though was a woman with a dog. And so when I got out of it, my counselor said, I've never encountered somebody who saw a human before. This is the first time ever in however many years of doing this work. But I Googled all this while you were talking, and it sounded a lot like Hecate. And I'm like, okay, that's really weird, because I was at one of the places where she was really like worshipped in Greece, semi recently. And she's the, protector of people who engage in necromancy and speaking with spirits, and like a protector of those who engage in that kind of work. And a few months after getting out of rehab, well, actually, this was like a month after, I was at a Christmas market with my wife, and on one of the shelves was a gigantic portrait of Hecate that someone was selling. And I had never seen this in my life, so I purchased the portrait. I ended up having a connection with this and doing a ton of research, and I have a Hecate tattoo. I probably can't pull my shirt up enough, but right here on my arm now because of that. And so months later, I go to this. I'm filming a video in LA where there was all this weird shit that was happening to us last year spiritually, really dark stuff. And so we went to this woman who does these cleansings, like really hardcore ritual mystic cleansings. And we show up at the shop in Los Angeles where she does these things. We go in, we go upstairs, and my jaw hits the floor. The building is a temple to Hecate. It's an entire shrine like built to her. Like, the owners are from Greece, and they worship her at this building. And to me, it was the craziest moment of like, this is where I'm coming to do this intense metaphysical spirit work, and this is where my like spirit guide calls home, essentially, with these people. And that sort of shit you just can't make up, and it doesn't really fall under.
Has anyone ever had a hardcore discussion with you about the subtleness of magic? Right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You have, right? Because like, this is all residual DNA, past life, thousandth time you've done journey stuff, right? You know that, yeah,
dude.
And it's just like, dude, it really is. You know what I'm saying? It's funny though, right? Because like passive fans of paranormal content, this isn't the stuff that blows their mind, right? They want like stuff falling off shelves, right? Right? Or like a nun covered in blood running around.
I know, that's what I was about to say, man. Like,
right? Because this is
crazier to me, though.
This is completely. It's like a 5-stage journey.
Yeah. Well, even when it's like the shit that it's like a joke with like a 10-month long build up to a punchline. Like, you lose the traction somewhere along the way, and then it's just not as funny. But for me, like when I was in rehab, like what the first thing they have you do is sit and dive in and do this really long breathwork session and visualize what you believe God is. And so most of my life I've been a very hardcore atheist, anti-spiritual, even though I was a paranormal investigator. I'm not the biggest fan of organized religion, I will say that, but I was just not into it. And so when I did this breath work, I wrote down on my notebook, very first thing in my rehab notebook, God is a butterfly, because I was seeing this butterfly floating around behind my eyelids when I was doing this breath work. My very last day of rehab, when I'm walking to leave, I'm the only one outside walking from my cabin area to the main room to do my exit ceremony where they graduate you from the program. I'm walking there, and this giant butterfly comes out of nowhere. And I shit you not, it still once again gives me chills. It came and landed on my shirt, and I just looked at it for a second, and it flapped its wings, and then it flew away. And to me,
have you got any brothers and sisters who aren't with us anymore, or any
no,
no,
it's just, I mean, I have my aunt who died when I was younger. I never really knew her though. My grandma died last year, and that was kind of hard.
Man. It's
but
interesting because
that was crazy, dude.
That is crazy. Can I ask you something? The time that you fell victim to alcoholism, right? I've got a friend who's Danny Henderson, incredibly powerful demon hunting badass. And she's talked in great detail about one of her friends who had an alcohol demon literally attached to him. And he would wake up in the middle of the night and be found drunk in the living room. And he'll have done the whole thing in a sleepwalking fashion. It was documented, it was recorded, it was bonkers, bro. And there's things that will attach you to pull you into the sins, the overindulgent, all of this stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's fascinating how you could go your whole life, never have an issue with anything, get yourself brought into a journey of paranormal everything, and end up on a path like that. It's how these dark forces try and take us all down, bro. Okay, isolation is their key.
That's my thing, man. Like it's one of those things where I never would not want to take accountability for what I did, because
we still got free will.
Yeah,
we still got free will. But when you're put in situations where someone's constantly going, "Hey, buddy. Hey, buddy. Hey, buddy. Hey, buddy," that is created, and you are led, because you can be led, and it's still on complete par with your free will. It's you then have to make the choice. But when it's nothing but freaking cheeseburgers and biddies everywhere, and you're just so happen to be into biddies and cheeseburgers, you're going to eat the cheeseburgers. You know what I'm saying? That's what's going to happen. But it's incredible how the manipulation of free will and us misinterpreting what we think is free will and our choices is incredible. And I'm not saying that people don't have to take accountability. I'm not saying that by any choice at all. But it's fascinating how we can quite easily say, "Oh, well, I take accountability for it all." But yes, but you've been put in situations that amplify how hard it is to say no.
Oh yeah. No, I think no doubt in my mind that there was also something dark over my shoulder throughout a lot of that, which it's easy for someone to say, "I blame on this." But
when you were an alcoholic, I'm sure you had a bunch of alcoholic buddies, or a couple of them anyway. Where are they now? Nowhere, because you're not an alcoholic, unless they're now not alcoholics. Do you see what I'm saying? Yeah. It's success gravitates success. Negativity gravitates negativity. It's a bloody cycle.
It's crazy, man. It's a whole.
It really is.
It was very mind-opening to me, the whole thing. And like, I have people that say online about me that I found God and I'm like a reformed Christian and all this, and I couldn't be further from the truth, because I'm still just my own person with no real defined set of beliefs. I just believe in it a lot more now, and I'm way more open-minded to lots of things, especially like working with Nico, who's a friend of mine who I've done some videos with recently.
Nico Klaus.
Yes,
I know Nico. I've done a 3-part series with Nico.
Really?
Yeah, I've got one of his drawings on a signed book.
Oh, yeah.
Nico and I were going to meet up last year in London and go through his Cannibal's cookbook and use pork for like a Halloween cook show.
Wow.
And then go and do a ghost hunt in a graveyard. My community lost their mind. They were like, "Don't do it, Ron. He's going to eat you." I'm like, "What?" Like, he's a really good guy. You put aside the cannibal, the murder, the prison sentence, the first couple of decades of his life. Bit mad. But yeah, that's wild, man.
No,
I'll never meet another guy that knows Nico. I'll just point that out right now. That's the one time that happened.
He's really, really smart and really
Yeah.
sharp. And, you know, you can condemn a person's past like he does with himself, but also learn from somebody who has tried their hardest to reform themselves. And like I've done videos with him trying to expose, like, for example, he was telling us a year ago in France when I first met him, that there are people that reached out to him after he was released from prison that wanted him to commit murders for them, like this specific secret society. And he was very, very intent on exposing that with me. And he's like, I don't want to say like the names and stuff, but this is like the reality of what happened to a convicted killer, especially one that is linked so closely to the occult. And from there, we became really good friends. I just spent a week with him in Italy in August. We did a road trip around Italy. We did a bunch of esoteric, weird serial killer, ancient
stuffs.
Yeah, it was just crazy, man. He's taught me a lot about, you know, it's for magic and Satanism and the occult and all of that. It's so easy to say this sounds stupid and, you know, this is just words on paper and these people are just doing these theatrical rituals and it's all cartoonish.
That's what the people that owned horses said when the car came out for the first week.
Right.
Okay. Just pointing and then just saying, they were all like, what? You got to fill it up with what and push a pet? What? Nah, mate. Nah. I'm telling you, bro. Like, Nico is one of those people. I would have loved to have seen Nico's face when anyone asked Nico to do anything for them. That is by far goes against everything that Nico's monster form is. He is not a servant of anyone.
No.
He is the definition of a lone wolf. He is the definition of the alpha, like, darkness. And also, nice guy. You know,
really nice guy. Really, I love Nico. He's an incredible.
And here's another thing, though. I just want to put this out there. When we say that he's released from prison and he's reformed, right? I think a better way of putting it is he's released from prison and he's got a much better grip on stuff now. Okay,
Yeah.
because I'm telling you, man, if it went Mad Max world tomorrow, okay, I'm thinking he's got control of multiple miles of area around him. Warlord status. Do you know what I'm saying? But again, that's testament to what we can do and locking it up. I mean, I remember one of the first things he said to me was, I am a fucking monster. I want people to know that, because I get it. I tell people I'm a pagan witch all the time because it repels people, right? It gets rid of that layer of people that are just, for me,
right?
But what a fascinating guy. He really, really is.
Well, I mean, that's also a thing, like when it comes to specifically Satanism and like the occult and all these different topics. There is so much nuance to every single topic in life. And it's really hard to get across to people because, yes, I've made lots of videos in the past where I'm talking about these groups of self-proclaimed Satanists that were engaged in these rituals involving children. And the fact that the government denied that these things were happening when there's actually lots of recorded evidence pointing to the contrary, where these things did happen. But then at the same time, you have, like, you know, the not the Church of Satan, but the Satanic Temple, people who are like they don't believe in Satan at all, and they just advocate for religious freedom. And then you have people like Nico who are practicing, you know, like Satanist dark magicians, but they're not hurting anybody. But then you have people who are using that same type of magic to hurt people. It's like you can't paint everybody with the same paintbrush. And that's really important, because just as I think that there are bad,
not doing it knowingly anymore. Okay, I'm not gonna sub, because I'm just saying, man. I'm just like, I wouldn't. I mean, I fully see Nico as a new person, right?
Yeah,
but I wouldn't be surprised, right, if all of a sudden the skies went black and like it was his fault. Okay, like I'm just saying, like,
well, I mean, if you're into that type of magic, if you're trying to And that's what it boils down to. Like, you're trying to invoke a negative deity, no matter if you see Lucifer as the bringer of light and, you know, someone who can give you knowledge or whatever, or you're just trying to invoke the more negative version of that entity or spirit. I think it just boils down to intention, because then you got satanic panic in the United States, which was a real thing, and tons of people, whether it's West Memphis 3 or, you know, these individuals that were blamed for being a part of these things, and even Dungeons and Dragons and all of that, that had nothing to do with the occult. But, you know, I've been deconstructing a lot of these stories, especially on my podcast, and it's like, I always was a believer in the satanic panic narrative, to the point where it was like, there were no Satanists at all. Like, this was all hysteria, and there were no crimes being carried out by these sorts of people. But it's the really
CIA banter, mate. CIA banter. That was just a coffee morning one day in a CIA office and go, hey guys, why don't we tell everyone, right, that everyone's a Satanist?
Exactly, dude.
Like, that's how it goes, bro. Like, that's how much thought would have been put into that. And they'd be like, Wendy, can you come in here, please? Wendy, get a memo sent out that everyone is now in league with Satan. Do you see what I'm saying?
It's true.
That's how they went about it, bro.
Well,
that's how they went about it.
I mean, dude, prime example of that is the Presidio in San Francisco. Do you know that story with Michael Aquino?
No, bash on with it though.
It's a very compelling. I did a whole documentary about it. Essentially, it was kids at like a daycare facility at the Presidio military base in San Francisco area, California, in the 80s. And these kids started telling their parents that they had been, you know, touched, and doctors actually were able to observe wounds and evidence of, for example, penetration on these children. And then all these kids started telling their parents, and they even started describing being brought off campus to these, what they described as like rituals or games. And they were playing these disturbing games with like feces and all of that, which is hard to believe. But at the end of the day, there's this very, very famous example where one of the victims, I can't remember the name that she called him, but one of the victims was with her mother out in public, and she pointed out and said, I can't remember, like, that's Mr. Badman and that's Lilith, or whatever their code names were. And she pointed at these people, and one of them was Michael Aquino, the military guy who's the founder of the Temple of Set. He's a hardcore Satanist, like a very well-known Satanist, and he was director of PSYOP programs in America's psychological warfare. That's not a conspiracy. It's an actual title that he held. It's just public knowledge that that's what he was. And his wife. And she actually identified him as being like one of the ringleaders / main abusers. Just picked him out walking down the street, and he happened to be the guy in charge of that, you know, that base in that area. They also went to his house. There's an unsealed arrest warrant that I published in my video, where kids were accurately able to find his home off of the street. They were able to tell which house it was, and it was confirmed to have been Aquino's house. They were able to describe some of the interior of the home that the police later corroborated when they did their search. There's tons of evidence in this case, including the fact that multiple children, I think it's 3, it could be more or less, but we'll just say 3, actually had STDs. Like, the doctors tested them, and I believe it was gonorrhea that they found. It's gonorrhea or chlamydia. It's an STD either way. They found this in these children that were in this daycare that had said they had been abused. They observed all these things on the kids. They had the wounds. They had the testimony. Whole thing ended up being dropped. And
dropped.
Yeah, no, there's one guy named Gary Hambright who was, I think he was either a teacher or a director of the Presidio Daycare Center. He was brought. They were going to bring him to trial. Things got dropped. Somewhere in the middle of all of that, the center actually mysteriously caught fire and burned to the ground.
Interesting that they boiled it down to one person for court. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, but he was never actually charged or convicted.
I want you to start using that as an algorithm when you're researching. When you see a mass event that has a story that includes multiple individuals, but by the time it goes to court, it boils down to just one individual. Okay. And then I want you to look at the Diddy case and the Epstein case, and then ask yourselves, all of these cases that have ties to alleged higher powers and higher elites or sources or whatever always boil down to it's okay for one guy to be a pervert and take the blame.
Yeah.
But there's no bigger story here. There's no bigger story here, Colin. Don't worry. You know what I'm saying? That's the attitude.
Of course. Bro. Well, yeah, like for this documentary series that I've been producing, I've been working with survivors of these rings, private investigators and investigative journalists who've written entire books about these topics, who've worked with other victims who are now dead or even perpetrators that they've interviewed. For one of the projects, we actually were following this predator who escaped America, and we followed him all the way to India, where in the 90s he was photographed abusing children at an orphanage in India, even though he was one of the most wanted people in U.S. history because he was able to escape America before he was prosecuted for the molestation of hundreds of children on his private island in Michigan. So we've gone deeper than, and it's weird because I'm just a YouTube ghost hunter to so many people, but the amount of effort that's been put into these like right now, I'm actually filing, I don't know what you would call it, but court action. I don't know the proper terminology, but against the FBI. I have a lawyer that we're working with that has just filed this recently to expedite a FOIA request, because I filed a FOIA request for documents. Like, for example, this guy that I issued the request for, there's already a public dump of documents related to this guy because he's kind of famous. He's like an Epstein type of figure. And
just keep calling. 1 second, Colin. Just keep talking, man.
I figured that I would be able to maybe get more documents about this guy. So I filed a FOIA request for information relating to him. The FBI got back to me and said they have over 1,000, I think it's 1,416 something pages of documents that have never been seen before about this guy, even though they claimed before that they had released everything. And they told me they can give them to me. And I thought this was a massive win. But then, bureaucracy, they said it's going to take...
You get none of that, Colin.
It's going to take 7 to 10 years to get the documents.
Yeah. You see...
So that's why I'm filing the action, because it's like, you've gone this far to do this.
You understand when people are chosen for stuff, Colin, this is how their life goes, right? How much of any of this have you chosen, right? I mean, you've been led on a path to a lot of this.
Yeah.
And a lot of people do the same stuff you do on YouTube, go to the same places. They're not fighting the FBI. They're not connecting rituals to children and survivors. Because I've got a lot of experience in what you're talking about. And let's talk a little bit about survivors you've spoken to and DID that has been weaponized by ritualists. Because there's nothing better, Colin, than if you've got a survivor of ritualistic abuse as a living trophy out there. She tries to go to court with a medical file this size that says she's got 9 different people all living in her head. The level of evil genius who lives in the side of a mountain with a skull carved into it, when we get to this level, how well they have weaponized the fracturing of the mind. Is that something that you've seen as well?
Yeah, when you actually study this stuff and you look at it with a almost scholarly lens where you want to learn instead of see sensationalized stories.
Correct.
The common thing when it comes to like breaking a kid down in a lot of these stories is the breaking down of these children to create those alters and personalities through a lot of times satanic, whatever the hell it was back in the 80s, late 70s, early 90s. That was like, especially talking about the Presidio and Michael Aquino. It's, you have to be careful to say it's all alleged. But that's what a lot of people believe. Like the guy who wrote the book about the story that we're adapting into a film, is that they were doing this, to test mind control. And obviously that sounds like far-fetched for a lot of people, but there's so many survivors and so many people that have testified about these things, from Paul Benassi, who is involved in this story that we're telling. He's a treasure trove of knowledge when it comes to all this stuff. to even people at the Presidio. It's like doing these rituals to break people down and scar children with things that are so horrific and disturbing that they're literally shocked into creating these multiple personalities.
Yeah.
And then
And
also,
good luck remembering 8 years of abuse from when you were 7. You know what I mean? It blows my mind. And I'll tell you something else, Colin. I'm going to have Sarah send you over a list of people that you need to be in touch with. Have you ever heard of a guy called Pastor Dave?
I feel like I have.
Yeah, you need Pastor Dave, another guy called John Wedger, Danny Henderson, and a couple Beverly Rhodes, a couple other people. They're going to be additions to your tool belt, because they are all John Wedger, ex-cop, tried to be taken out by the government for exposing all the ritualistic abuse that the judges and police are linked to. Beverly Rhodes, massive remote viewer and psychic. Danny Henderson, badass demon hunter. And Pastor Dave. Pastor Dave is the guy that ended the life of what the hell was the old school founder of Satanism, the bald-headed guy?
Anton LaVey.
Anton LaVey. Pastor Dave ended his life in the spirit realm by cutting the silver cord that connects you to the spirit realm when you project yourself. And dude, if there's a podcast story you need, it's the Pastor Dave story, because he looks like the Big Lebowski. His whole family are bloodlines from the wagon era of pioneers of America. So he's like old school America. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He's awesome. Yeah, you need to speak to Pastor Dave. He is unreal. Well, look, listen. Satanism. Do you often feel like Satanism is just being thrown in there because that's what people interpret the most evil thing to be? Do you feel like there's a whole list of deities that get thrown under the one blanket of helping people to understand we're talking about something really bad? Satanism, blood magic, things like this. Because black magic is selfish magic, white magic is selfless magic, right? But blood magic, that's the bad stuff that people often think is black magic. It's not. It's the blood stuff. It's banned. Okay, it's off the table. And I'm not talking about using your blood for your contracts and your spells. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking the horrific deconstruction of a human being.
Yeah. I mean, it's like Gilles de Rais, the French guy, alchemy, blood of children. I had a very long conversation with Nico about specifically blood magic and kind of the powers of all that. And I've been diving into this stuff really for the last year and a half, reading everything I can from old school like Eliphas Levi, Manly P. Hall, like trying to understand esoteric thought. And it's so interesting, man, because regardless if you believe in this shit or not, there are people out there that do believe in it and act in a way where they believe doing these things will get them these things that they believe in. So it's not like when I make content, I'm saying like, oh, I think that sacrificing someone is going to get you like the devil in the flesh or something like that. Like, I'm not even throwing my vote in for those sorts of things, like a full endorsement that, oh, I think this shit's real and I'm scared of it. It's more like with a lot of this stuff, like these people are really doing these things.
Yeah, they are.
And it's out of the realm of conceptualization for so many people.
They're doing this to the point at the highest levels. They're doing this to the point where they're farming their own children. Okay.
I've heard.
And this is just us under getting the information in 2025 and coming to terms with it. This isn't a 2025 thing. This is since the bloodlines founded how the entire world turns. Okay.
Right.
And if you don't think that it's a small group of people with very powerful bloodlines, do you know, it's scary when you look at the history of America and like JP Morgan, right? As soon as there was like cowboys, there was JP Morgan, right? And you've got this huge powerhouse conglomerates. You've got bloodlines. And this is all by design. I sum up the gods and the world like this, Colin, right? So I believe all the gods exist, and I believe that humanity has needed different gods at different times. Okay. I was talking to John Wedger about all the different religions that have similarities in the story to Jesus Christ that weren't Jesus Christ. And I said to him, I believe that was still Jesus coming back, but we weren't ready for that God yet, right? Because let's be honest, out of all of the gods, Jesus is a pretty laid back dude, right? Pretty much just wants everyone to get along and chill out and love each other. He's a pretty nice guy. He's not, I'm just saying, okay? But the organized religion, I don't see that representing any of that. No, right? Like Jesus as a God is a great one for humanity. It's a great one for humanity, right? My gods, right, are very more barbaric. They're incredible gods. They're very incredible wise gods, but it's hard to fit in barbarianism and war gods into 2025. Unless, of course, you're like a Navy SEAL or something like that. But that's a very small amount of worship for the 1 or 2 Navy SEALs that worship that. And I believe that true evil, and just bear with me, okay? True evil isn't a spirit thing, okay? True evil is the choices made by man in those vessels that are void of the capability of love. That is what manifests evil, okay? Because the spirit world, they are all little bitches who have no control over our free will, and they're all bound to that, okay? So once you get your head around it, it's okay. But the evil acts, this is all, it could be, oh, he has a demon beside him. I'm sure he does. The demon's egging him on. The demon is that, you know, Billy from down at Asda who can't give up gambling because all of his mates are gamblers and keep making him gamble. Imagine that. Insert scary demon here. It's that mindset. They're bound by us having to make the choice. And
true.
It's see, when you honestly, bro, I had this religious awakening. I was not religious until I was in my 30s. I had this profound religious experience. My firstborn son's called Odin. Like, my whole life changed, right? And I'm not a faith believer. My God stood in front of me and directed me to follow him. So that's why I believe it. I never understood blind faith. I never understood it. And evil, like I say, they'll trick you. You can think something scary and it's all up in your face and stuff like this. And you can feel like they're in control of you at sometimes. But it all comes down to you having just as much of you left to make that choice. Even if that choice, you deny making that choice forever because you've done something horrific just to make what you were going through end, what they're putting you through to end. And I have no respect for any of the darkness that lurks around the world. Like I say, I'm the scariest thing in the shadows. Okay, so come at me, bro. Come at me, darkness. I have no fear. But that's me, bro. Don't take Ron's attitude. It's a dangerous attitude. Ron knows what he's doing. Ron's 30 years into this stuff, right? But the whole realm of evil and what man represents is good and bad and balance. And the evil we bring forward can only have somebody who does things to children like that cannot possess the ability to love. And when you strip away that's why Jesus and all the hippies, and big shout out Danny Henderson, who's like, darling, listen, all we need is love, guys. It's that simple. It's that simple. And you sit there and you're like, this is the most cliche white witch, Wiccan hippie madness. And then one day you get it, right? You get it, right? You really do. You could be the most lonely person in the world, consumed by love for nature, consumed for the sunset, the sunrise, all of that. That is the capability of loving on levels. But when you have none of it, and you're part of a twisted cabal that says, if you do an evil act, the more evil you put out, you'll get the opposite back. So if, me slapping you in the face is the equivalent of me getting £10, that's maybe £10 worth of evil act. Ripping apart a child is going to give you back the opposite of that in their eyes.
Right.
I'm sorry. That is, some evil demons have got together and been like, we can fool these idiots into thinking this. By the way, I just want to point that out. Because it's madness, and the void of love is what creates evil's manifestation through the acts of man, through the guidance of these dark forces. That was my little rant there.
Have you read extensively into the Mark Dutroux stuff in Belgium?
Okay, so my history on YouTube is I tracked child traffickers and child abuse rings on the dark web for like 6 years, disrupted their groups, put some of them in jail, took their websites away, disrupted their blockchains, all of that. So I just wanted to make camping videos, but I was also chosen, Colin. So here we are. I've become an expert in all these people. And the layers when it comes to Trudeau is the scary factor. It was he's in court and there's like 6 people in a basement, right? Like just in another location. It's his levels of and although you'll notice one guy, it's okay if it's just him, right? Can't let the boys get in trouble, Colin. Do you know what I'm saying?
Well, that's when you get into like the you lose people when you talk about all that stuff because it's so bonkers sounding and so wild. But with the Dutroux thing, you had that entire network of chateaus and groups that were doing these blasphemous activities. Like, for example, one big one was the Chateau d'Amroy, which I did a video at. We actually tried to visit in Belgium.
I've seen that. That was one with Nico as well, right?
That
was like the most. The thumbnail was something like the most horrific something in the world, right? It was like one of those thumbnails.
Yes,
I remember that.
Yeah, it is.
You know, it's a good video when you remember the thumbnail that traumatized you. You know what I'm saying?
That's another case, man, where you have these very well documented child abuse allegations and stories from victims and survivors, where none of that stuff went anywhere. But then you have occult thought, or, you know, in this case, explicitly Satanism tied in with the Abrasics thing. I actually own, it's sitting over there in my room. I have a giant sigil, Baphomet sigil, that was owned and used by the Abrasics cult that's at the center of the Dutroux thing for their rituals. It's their actual ritual board. But
would you consider the Baphomet a hijacked symbol?
I mean, yes and no. I
like this now. Just carry on with your point. I just wanted to nip that in. We can just.
No, I think it is. I mean, I think almost every single symbol, for the most part, is hijacked by people and then turned into something evil, unless it's explicitly created with an evil intention. Like Baphomet, when
the big 3 came out, Judaism, Christianity, Islam, everything else became a demon, bro. Just blanketed. Do you know what I mean? It's
paganism. There you go.
Bro, like I say to John Wedger, I was like, if we'd met 1,000 years ago, you'd be burning me right now. Okay, you'd be burning me. Okay. And I say, I was like, if the religion war ever starts, it says we kill each other last, John, on the hill. It'll come down to Christianity or Mad Ron from the internet. Okay, that's what it'll come down to. Because it's wild, man. It really is. But yeah, carry on, bro. Because I just wanted to ask you that.
And I just think that case, that's has been one of my obsessions, is like the microcosm version of every single story that exists when dealing with these kind of upper echelon elite trafficking rings that people say don't exist. With Dutroux, the evidence is there, and it's extremely well documented, and it's incredibly clear, and you have the victims, you have the testimony, you have the corroboration, you have the laundry list of people that were involved in these things. You have boatloads of evidence and missing evidence and dead witnesses and the trail of death.
Right. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. It's
all
nothing
there.
Suspicious at all. Okay. There's nothing suspicious going on. You can totally trust the government. This is all conspiracy, but it's not. And do you know what? I give this analogy. It's your brain. When you hold your hand over a candle, eventually your brain pulls your hand away. This is the conversational version of that. Okay. Yeah. It's a lot for people to take in. And you know yourself, if you were trying to explain this, the first 2 or 3 months when you started diving into it to people, the way you explain it now is going to be vastly different from when you were like, listen to this.
Oh yeah,
Okay?
yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I
It is. It's funny because I did like this project that I'm working on, the docu-series.
Yeah.
I did a TikTok series about this story years ago, and it got like 24 million views.
Yeah,
And
nice.
it was a really quick summary of what had happened. And then I did a YouTube video, which became one of my biggest videos ever last year about it. And I
Okay.
also went through the story and I summarized it. But now, after working on this project for over almost a year now and going to India, the Netherlands, Germany, Michigan, Idaho, interviewing victims, working with survivors, working with ex-government officials that only spoke with us with full anonymity. My understanding of it is vastly different than what I even, I thought I had a very, very intimate understanding of this story last year when I made a 4-hour long documentary about it. But now it just changes more and more. The more people you talk to and the more understanding you gain of these topics, it's like it just changes you, man, especially with Epstein. Like, I feel absolutely vindicated with all these Epstein. At least I know that we're not getting transparency. Like, that's never gonna happen.
Got something, bro.
But we got something.
After they spent what 5 years sifting through it all, okay,
Yeah.
burning a bunch of stuff. But you know what annoys me, Colin, right? Where's the 5,000 terabytes of video footage and stuff from Diddy and Epstein? Okay, like I'm okay. Thanks for the emails, guys. Okay, it's feeling a bit like the Clinton conspiracy here. Give us something new, you know, because who cares really? I mean, the emails are great, but in the meat of it all, there's been no arrests.
No.
There's nothing. So if there's no victims, if there's no illegal stuff, if Virginia Giuffre made everything up, should we just let Ghislaine Maxwell out? Because I'm not pro Ghislaine Maxwell in any way, but I'm pro the madness of this situation and having stupid analogies to make my point. You know what I mean?
Well, it's really interesting because with my coverage of Epstein, like, I started making videos on Epstein back in 2021, like before it was a really kind of mainstream thing that people were talking about all the time. So I've been consistent with my criticisms of whatever administration has been in office here in America and their handling of Epstein. But if you really break it down, like I have people all the time saying, oh, Colin has Trump derangement syndrome, or he just doesn't like Trump. And I'm like,
most of them have blue hair, Colin. Okay. Okay. All right. Most of them have blue hair.
Well,
okay. And are quite happy to just go and put 9 Palestinian flags all around their house and just get on whatever train is happening, bro.
Well,
okay.
all you have to do, man, is do this to people and say, so Trump's his Justice Department and his FBI in July of this year released a statement saying that there's no further warranted investigation that needs to take place into any realm of Epstein, and that he never trafficked anyone. So I ask people this all the time in my comments. I say, do you believe that to be true? Always they either come back with something stupid like, well, blah 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 blah. But normally, if you're actually a logical individual, you can say, yeah, I think that that's false and that's a lie. That's the first crack. Then you tell people, if the teapot is cracked up top, eventually the whole thing is going to burst. Okay. So you've got the crack in your understanding of reality in the world. And once you realize that they've lied to you once about this thing, I don't know how you can think they're being transparent in any way, or would be. Like, why?
I'll be honest with you.
They?
In my Netflix version of Trump's life in the 90s, the FBI totally recruit him to go undercover by blackmailing him after him being off his nut at a mad orgy somewhere, all consenting adults, but they just filmed it. I can totally see consenting adult, mad, like Wolf of Wall Street office party madness that they've got against Trump. And they've went, listen, this is Epstein guy. We need you to go undercover. I can totally see Trump being made to do that by the FBI. I don't care if people think it's madness. A billionaire playboy that makes dumb decisions. That is like FBI. Do you know what I'm saying? 100%. I can see that totally. Also, I just want to say, that wasn't like a pro-Israel slip from me earlier when I said the Palestinian flags. Everyone can suck their mum. Okay, I'm only really concerned about what's going on in Scotland right now. Equally, everywhere else can suck their mums. Okay, I'm just being honest. But that's how I feel about Trump. Like, I could totally get on board with like a 1960s detective style, like evidence coming out of him going undercover and him seeing this and him seeing that and his name's all over it. I can totally see that. I can totally see that because of how stupid his decisions are before like, he still makes mad decisions. Have you seen the pen that he signs with? Have you seen that? Like, it gets bigger every time, Colin, right? It's like, it gets bigger every time, mate. Like, that is a level of man that you just can't understand. You just can't understand that. Okay.
It's crazy. But I mean, that's the thing, man. That's the question, like, that I have is, why would somebody be fighting so hard to not release information if there was never anything that was an inkling damning? And this is not a condemnation of Trump specifically that I have. It's of both parties and individuals that are involved from all parts of the political spectrum, because you know, I fight with people all the time. Like, the biggest Trump lovers will come on my channel and say that I'm just being unfairly harsh to, you know, President Trump or whatever, blah, blah, blah. But in my mind, it's like, dude, this is the sitting president of America who was documented to be best friends with one of the world's, arguably the world's most famous pedophile sex trafficker. And you don't want to look further into that. Why? Because you just admire his politics and his policy. Like, I can understand why people are into Trump. Like, I can get into that mindset. But at the same time, you have to distance yourself, spirit, mind, body, from who you admire and who you like. And try to get down to the bottom of it.
Yeah, no, like, if it turns out that he's part of the dirty crew, he gets hung out to dry.
And I think that's the whole thing, is like, it needs to be completely bipartisan, honestly nonpartisan at all in the approach, and just, you need to have completely objective people that are going into it wanting clarity. But that's not going to happen.
Good luck, mate. So what you're talking about is a catastrophic EMP event that takes out all globalization as we know it.
Well, you can't. That's
setting us back 500 years, where we're back in the caveman era, right? And then we can possibly rebuild it. That's my only solution. It's like, my only solution for child predators is to somehow make pregnancies last 18 years. That's it. That's my only way of solution. You just give birth to an adult. That's it.
Yeah, I mean,
until you have a better solution, Colin, that's what my money's getting invested in. Okay, is the 18-year-long pregnancies.
That's
You're right,
the thing. Like,
you're right.
Even if today, like, they came out and said, this is exactly, for example, what Epstein was doing. Here's the proof. Here are the photos. Here's everything. And they disclosed the full story. What would that lead to? It would lead to absolute, utter, complete chaos and a breakdown of every system that's ever been established.
Correct.
Which I argue, you know, might be a good thing in some ways, because we could actually get an honest government, which would never truly happen. But
after what would be known as the 30-year war, Colin.
Yeah.
Okay, after that took place. Okay. But you know, I'm not wanting to cut you off. We've gone 10 minutes over, and there's
it's fine, man. I'm enjoying this.
Like, dude, I can tell you that we'd be the last two guys at a party. Do you know what I'm saying? Just rap. Your missus there, my missus here. Like, come on, it's 5 a.m. But no, one more time. But it's true. But here's the thing. The great thing that these monsters have when it comes to someone like Epstein, right, is it's easy to be like, hey, fellow child abuser, come to my evil island of child abuse. That's the easy part, right? The hard part is when you have people that have no interest in any of that, and you need to pin it on them, right? So imagine you're out at a party, you get completely smashed out your face. You think you can trust everyone. All of a sudden, there's 2 hot girls. You're like, this is not bad, right? Things are progressing. And then all of a sudden, you black out. You wake up the next day, and those 2 girls are switched out with 2 13 or 14-year-olds. The footage has been captured now. You don't even know you've committed a crime. And now they've got the footage on you. That's how they trap that's when people have got no history, and then all of a sudden some weird threats come out or whatever. You know, it's so easy to do. You know, I'm assuming you've done your research into scopamine and things like this.
Oh yeah.
I mean, dude, bonkers.
It's the most powerful tool that they have, really.
Yeah.
And the thing is with Epstein, man, to circle back, is I understand and I know for a fact these disclosures, they mean a lot. With some of the stuff that's come out, it's actually very interesting to read through some of these line items if it is indeed legitimate, which I personally believe it is. But it's not going to tell the full story. However, the benefit, I think, of all this is like, dude, 2 years ago when I was making these videos, people were calling me crazy for talking about pedophile rings and, you know, all these different elite sort of clubs and secrets that these calibers of individuals hold and these activities they participate in. But now it's like I see on like even the Daily Show with Jon Stewart, they're talking about pedophile rings. It's like now it's like a thing that people are actually beginning to conceptualize, which hopefully, like with my documentary and series that we've been working on, it's like now that you understand that this Epstein thing isn't just a far-fetched, you know, fantasy. This is like reality, and it's been happening, and people have been talking about it. It's like now I'm going to hit them with the historical. Here's a photocopy of Epstein that happened in the 80s. Here's a photocopy that happened in the 70s. These are not conspiracies. These are documented crime stories that people just never talked about, never wanted to talk about. And then you had back then in the day, the certain people had such a tight grip on any and all news and media. Like, for example, in this one story that I've been working on, it's like in this one pedophile ring, there were people from the local newspaper, like a very powerful newspaper from the city, that were directly implicated in participating in these pedophile orgies. And so when you have the newspaper, the main purveyor of news, compromised in this town where this stuff is going on, and they're disseminating attacks constantly against the victims, and they're perpetrating their narrative, it was so much easier to control. Nowadays, when you have social media, you have a person like me who's really a nobody who can sit in my studio in my house and rant all day about these historical things, or like you interview people all day and build your following. And it's like there's no way for them to stop that. And I honestly think sometimes it's really weird, because it's like, if they are that powerful, I really wonder why they don't like shut down people like you and I. Like, why don't they like contact Google and say, we need this guy's account permanently removed? We need to find something to
you don't know, Colin? You don't know, because we're part of their greatest weapon and arsenal. We are the contributor to half the people that watch us thinking we're wrong, so they can argue with the other half to continue the great war of division. Okay, they've got to keep enough of us around so that everyone can argue about what we're saying, bro.
Oh yeah,
right? Like, it's bonkers. It's bonkers, mate. It's bonkers.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, man. On my comments, it cracks me up, because I will have people that say that I take it too far, and I'm like attacking all these different people, and like I'm creating a new satanic panic, and I'm this sort of person that's like the Geraldo Rivera of 2025. But then I'll also have commenters that say that I must, of course, be a purchased asset of the United States government, because I'm not going far enough.
That's the vibe you give me. You give me paid shill. That's, you know what I'm saying? Tomorrow, the Colin expose will be live on my channel, okay? Like, it's just, but you got to remember, when you start getting into the PDF ring realm, you're going to have, you got to understand, there's pro PDF people. There's people that want to discredit you because they are part of that club. And when we were taking down the websites, bro, on the dark web, there was one website that had over 6 million members, all PDFs, all families abusing their kids, all this 6 million. And the group that breached the security of that site, it took them almost 4 times longer to get into that site than it did the British government servers. To show you, for every like cool Colin there is out there fighting the good fight, there's the evil version of Colin who is fighting the bad fight.
Yeah.
And It's bonkers, bro, because we just assume they're all sitting alone going, yeah, yeah.
No,
It's not, man. They're organized, bro. They're organized.
well, I mean, even
And
with that, dude, that pisses me off when you read stories about. I've covered so many of them where they find those, like you find the website with 6 million registered people. They
Yep.
cut the head off of the thing, and you can't access that specific site, but you don't see arrests. It maybe whittles down to 10 people that are investigated.
Yep.
Maybe one or two guys gets pinned for it. But what happens to the other 500,000, 6 million people?
It comes down to administrative bureaucracy. So here's the thing. If you arrest a criminal in an address in America who's done a crime, pretty wrapped up, right? American location, American victim. But if you've got a deep web website where the URL is registered in Hong Kong, and then the web address, the web space is somewhere else, and then all the users have no set location, it's kind of because, and then you look at the budgets for the cybercrime team also. That isn't the cybercrime budget that isn't for national defense. I just want to point out, okay, it's an impossible task.
Oh, I know.
You've got to pin your hopes on dumbasses, okay? That dumbass predator who's like, living in his mom's basement with no VPN. That's what we're gunning for, me, and that's the sad. And also data mining. Like, these guys can see comments on a dark website and then find a Facebook page with the same style of sentence structure. It's incredible. But let me just throw one thing at you. Epstein files. Do you know, I have this weird sensation that AI was amped up to create a mindset in people that we assume everything we see is fake now, to a point where it's never been, to cover up for voice messages or any sort of media that could have been slipped through with the emails, because we're all primed to assume that it's fake. Do you think that there could be a correlation for how long we've waited for the files, for them to build up this social mindset to assume what we're seeing is fake?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, and I'm in the camp where, one of my really good friends, who I'm actually producing this film with, his name's Nick Bryant. He's the guy who got Epstein's Black Book first published years ago. So he's the lead of an organization called Epstein Justice, which I would encourage any and all listeners, viewers to check out, because they have a petition that's been advocating for Epstein transparency for years. They work directly with survivors. They are lobbying members of the U.S. government for transparency. Like, they're doing some really powerful work. But Nick told me, like, we were talking about this in January when we were wrapping production for our feature film together. He's like, yeah, there is no Epstein list. Like, there's never been a list. That doesn't exist. So obviously there's not going to be some sort of a document where Epstein himself is like, here are the PDFs that are in my ring, and he just lists there. Like, that's just stupid to assume that would exist. But on top of that, like, talking to him, it's like, whatever damning files that there would actually be, the bureaucratic side of a sex trafficking ring, first of all, either those things never existed or they were destroyed long before Epstein was taken out. It's not like I believe that, like, there's like a bureaucratic filing, their paperwork establishing an LLC for the trafficking ring that would like be the smoking gun evidence. It's more like, do
you know how crazy what you've just said there is? Because I've got a friend who is an ex-policeman who has got a 700-page document linking all of the business registrations all around the world to all the trafficking rings, because they're creating LLCs for putting money through and laundering.
Oh, yeah.
Making people disappear. It's crazy how, bro.
Well, that's a whole different side of it. Then you get
so
into
mad.
Like Whitney Webb and like the politics, like blackmail and like actual money laundering. That's a whole different topic.
Oh,
like,
this
is all
documented. Yeah, this is all secret government. We're not talking about, we're elite level businessmen and we're going to conspire and wash money. We're talking about how these rings that people say don't exist are able to exist.
Yeah,
this is this business model. And Gary is on the run from the British government, living in a tent in fields because of the information he has.
Wow.
Right? I mean,
well, that's what I was circling around
let that
to.
sink in.
That's the whole thing, man. It's not like there are going to be smoking gun documents. It's reading between the lines and trying to piece together everything that we've learned with everything that could be coming out. And then you're always going to have to, in my opinion, you're always going to have to make some sort of a leap, because they're never going to release the blackmail photos. They're never going to release, the video or photographic evidence. That stuff's either locked away in the FBI vault in Quantico, never to be seen again, or it's 100%. Been permanently destroyed. Like you're just not going to see that shit.
That stuff's never even been plugged into a system with a network adapter attached to it, bro. No. That is an offline view only hard drive for the investigators.
Exactly. But you know that it exists because not only were people photographed removing that shit from Epstein's place, but in that DOJ FBI joint document that they released, they at least admitted to the fact that there were all of these files and photos and I can't remember, videos, whatever, of Epstein with victims. We know that there were more people in those photos and videos.
Of course.
They're not going to release that stuff. And I get it. Like they're child victims. It's going to constitute CSAM. Like you should never release that stuff. But
listen. You can crop a bunch of illegal stuff out of someone doing something illegal.
I know.
Okay? I'm just saying. I'm not saying whoever has that job. I'm very sorry. That was actually John Wedger's job in the police, where he was one of the cops that had to sift through all the evidence.
I couldn't imagine.
Bro, when you meet John Wedger, like he just baptized two like world champion bare knuckle boxers and two of the most dangerous former criminals in the UK into his. We are going to take out the evil PDF Christian white power. No, that's the wrong word. Not white power. Like white light savior team legend. Absolute legend. So it blows my mind how much awakening has taken place on this whole topic, right? Over the last couple of years.
That's the benefit, man. And like
it really is.
It's weird because I get painted with a lot of different brushes. Like there are a lot of people who love what I'm doing. I've always tried to stay explicitly within the facts, and with my shows, like I release a resources document which clearly spells out exactly where every piece of information came from, so people can verify stuff. But I get called either crazy, like I said, a government plant. People say new satanic panic, or they say I'm a liar about the paranormal and I've just faked all my experiences and everything. But at the end of the day, what I do have is a large group of individuals who have collectively been awakening on a journey with me. Because years ago, when I first came across these stories, I didn't believe them. I thought it was all bullshit. But then I read one book which changed my entire perspective on everything. And it really became the only thing that I could think about. And then that's when I started working with I actually went to rehab right after I had that kind of like notion, and I read the book and I became privy to these topics. And then when I came out of rehab, everything lined up and it was like this divine path opened up. And it's hard to explain because it's
not because Pastor Dave's story is the exact same thing. He was handed a book, different story, same context. It's incredible what is, because I'm not a book guy, right? So if someone had handed me a book, it wouldn't have worked. They need my awakening was a dude standing in front of me going, "This is how obvious we need to be for you, dumbass." Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's just a different form of pulling us in. And it's wild how many things you've said that I'm like 90% of what you've said I've experienced. Then
crazy,
collectively, there's other people that have experienced the same things. And then there's people who are chosen for things, in my humble opinion, who've all entered into their journey in the same ways. It really blows my mind, because a percentage of people will turn off the podcast and be like, "That was good," instantly forget everything, right? Like they'll regurgitate some stuff. But I mean, I am diehard. I will 100% die for what I believe in when it comes to this.
Me too.
And I fully believe I'm here to take out some sort of evil. And listen, it wouldn't be appropriate to not play some paranormal clip. So I'd shown Colin a clip earlier from my first paranormal investigation, and it kind of set the stage for my mind going into accepting that maybe there's more to what we've been told about the world. This was the moment that really changed everything. And again, this was in front of a couple of thousand people on a live stream that watched me leave the house alone, go to Greyfriars Kirk, where Colin was, and film this. This is the old entry point to historical Edinburgh, and everything you're about to see is real. And I'm telling you now, my spirit box experiences are either like this or nothing. Okay.
Same.
It's interesting because when you normally hear a spirit box, there's loads of radio interruptions. But when I get big hit moments, the radio ain't interrupting nothing. Okay. So this is all real. Watch this. Just watch this.
So the meter, which is still going off, is at the other side of this archway. I'm standing right here, and it's just constantly going nuts. Oh my God, the spirit box just went on in my pocket. What the Thank you. Do you want to use this box here to try and talk to me? Did you just tell me to run? Is there something you want to tell me? Is that you lighting up the meter for a start? To answer me, is that you lighting up this meter? Right, I'm going to move this meter, guys. Whoa! Holy, move this meter, guys. Whoa!
Just pay attention to how this falls. Okay, because gravity works one way. When something falls down, it should continue down. This goes to the side and gets thrown. That's my only explanation, right? And I'm alone. You'll see when the sound comes back on. Down the side here, there's no movement of any of the bushes, you know, just in case some junkie pulled off the move of a lifetime.
Okay, did you see that? I want to show you something. Do you see this hole?
Mad.
Right?
Mad.
That's crazy, man.
Meter is.
Not a single whisper of anything like that since then. Okay? Since then, all of my things we're told that humans shouldn't be able to do have just gone through the roof. Intuition, perception. I've started reading cards and doing all kinds of reading for people. And I'll tell you this right now, Colin, when I do readings for people, I would much rather I didn't know your name, your age, anything about you, and you were in a separate room. So I'll just pick somebody from the side chat. And I think 3 or 4 times now, out of 3 or 4 times I've done it, I've told them things about themselves that I could not know. Okay. I could not know these things. All right. I use words that associate with memories that I shouldn't know about. And I'm one of these people that I'm not going to question any of it. I'm not going to try and understand any of it. In the same way as I don't really understand what happens when I plug something in and turn the computer on. There could be a pixie in the wall, like turning a wheel. I don't know. I'm not really sure how air works or the wind or how stars are things, but we accept that, right? We just accept it because a man told us, right? Nah. This subtle magic that exists around us is the illusion that they have torn from us over the last 2,000 years. They have made it impossible for residual lives to come forward because, hey, die, go to heaven, baby. Reincarnation, hey, that's some pagan madness. But when you keep coming back and you keep having these memories and these skills that build up over lifetimes, that's when people can start kicking ass on these dark realms. And I'm like fully here to crack skulls. I took no crap from that. I mean, I stood there for ages and shouted at this entity for throwing my equipment around, you know. And then, I mean, the full videos, it's the stuff that comes through in the box. It's just wild. So that was my little paranormal clip, because we've got Paranormal Files on, guys. Okay, I had to whip out the one banger that I've got. This is the very equivalent of the picture of the Big Mac, the one good picture of the Big Mac. This is the one good bit of footage that I've got.
Well, it's interesting, you know. I'm gonna have to hop off here.
Yeah, that's fine too, mate. Yeah,
but
that's fine. Appreciate it.
What's interesting, what immediately I noticed about that is, you know, timing, synchronicity, those sorts of things, just like in magic, like the little things like we've been talking about this whole episode. It's like the little things to me contribute to evidence being astounding. And it's like the fact in that clip that you're talking about how you need to move the meter right when it gets moved. It's like those sorts of things that you have to make those connections
of
and
course.
Call them what they are. It's not just a coincidence. That's like something that was either you were meant to say that at that exact moment, or it was reacting to what you were about to say.
I agree.
It's connected. And when you connect those dots and look at the paranormal through that lens, that it isn't just a random string of coincidences. These are like things that happen that there are just no explanation for.
See, some
that's
people
what I
call
think
it
is great, man.
Some people call it fate, right? Where I fall with fate and things is it's the 1000th life we've done it. Okay, that's why it feels like preordained, because that's all we've ever done. We're just in a different husk. Colin, Paranormal Files, ladies and gentlemen. What, honestly, bro, like the last two guys at the party. I can't wait to have another conversation with you, Colin, because
dude, I'd love to come back anytime, man. I wish I would have known that you were in Edinburgh, because we could have met up, dude.
Bro, next time. Next time. All right. Well, listen, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for giving up your time. Thank you to the mods. Thank you to all of you for watching. Without you guys, like I say, we're just two guys on a Zoom call talking.
Just hanging out.
Just exactly. So look, thank you all for being here, and make sure you like and subscribe. Follow Colin. Make sure you're all queued up on his socials for his releases of his documentaries and his series. And Colin, the start of a beautiful friendship is blossoming, and I will see you again, sir. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, man. This has truly been a pleasure. I'd said hour and a half, but it's been almost 2 hours, a little over 2 hours, and it's just flown by, dude. It's kind of crazy. One of those.
It's great. It's great, bro. It's great when you meet one of your own people. It's just
I feel it, man. There's a connection, dude.
Right, I'm telling you, bro.
Must be paranormal.
Right. Make sure you check out Paranormal Files every Monday. New video. Check it out. All right, we'll see you guys next time, and thank you, everyone.